Hello, treasure hunters. I am here today to talk about my second hike on my boots on the ground trip. I know I'm a little late with all of this info, but better late than never. I could sum this trip up by saying coulda, woulda, shoulda, because I had so many afterthoughts on the trip, which I guess is tried and true for treasure hunting from what I hear from others, that it just inspires you to look deeper every time you go out until ultimately you find the treasure. Let's get into it. So, this was my second hike. So, in the top right, you can see the path that I took, and it started at Springer Mountain and then it went to the Benton MacKaye Trail and branched off. Of the two hikes that I did while I was in Georgia, this was definitely my favorite. At the beginning, I was definitely getting some tingly goosebumps going on because some things were lining up really early on and looked really great. So, Benton MacKaye was the AT visionary who proposed the whole thing. And this would definitely qualify as along the Appalachian Trail, but not on it because they do intersect, which is what you can see in that first photo there where it says Benton MacKaye Trail. And then what was exciting about that is it had a blue diamond blaze. So when I saw that, I was really excited. Also, since I'm going with the Springer Spaniel is Springer Mountain theme, I liked how from Springer Mountain you were going towards Ball Mountain on this hike, which if you're going to fetch something, what do you fetch? You fetch a ball. So it lined up with Springer Spaniel, go fetch. And then also the tree look around, I was interpreting as at this point, you're going to need to pay attention because the trail paths are crossing. So look around, make sure you're going down the right trail path. And that lined up where I expected it to be as well. Additionally, a lot of people have hypothesized that because the tree has a water body of water in front of it, it's more like a reflecting pond. So those are usually built in honor as a memorial. And at that point on the trail, there was a memorial to Benton MacKaye as well. So I was really pumped on that. Next thing that really lined up was the soft press ground that John Collins Black describes in the book. I had been on the AT that day and the day before, and you can see in these two pictures, it is just really rocky all along the path. Whereas the Benton MacKaye Trail was really soft and absolutely lovely. I do recommend it. It had like little green grass just growing right along the edge of the trail to mark the trail everywhere, um, the entire length of it. So that was really nice. And then I got to where the one is on the map, and I thought that that was going to be more of an overlook vista area. And it was. There was definitely a vista and an overlook. There wasn't anything that really lined up with the book except for that cool tree there, which kind of resembles the arm branch thing that is on the map just below the 1727. But ultimately, the majority of things that aligned with the clues in the book were at the beginning of the trail, and then I didn't see much of anything else that made my spidey senses tingle. So I don't really think I'll go back there to explore anymore. So what I should have done is gone to Mount Oglethorpe. This is something that I learned about while I was in the visitor center at Amicalola Falls, was that the trail in Georgia was completed in 1930 with the southern terminus at Mount Oglethorpe, which is now Grassy Knob is how it's referred to. And it's that green dot there on that map where it says Eagles Rest Park. On the left is the original sketch from Benton MacKaye of the proposed trail. And it doesn't exactly give the best representation of detail, So luckily I was able to find a Reddit thread that does a really good job of capturing what the original trail would have followed if it was still intact today. While the majority of it is still there, it is some road walking now, so it's not completely a wilderness trail. But I'm going to give you guys the link to that in the descriptions below the video. So if there's anything you're like, oh, dang, I wish I had that, check the description of the video, and there's probably the link to it in there. So in 1937, the whole trail was formally completed and designated as a National Scenic Trail. And then it wasn't until 1958 that the southern terminus moved from Grassy Knob to Springer Mountain. One of the theories is that begin here, if you're looking at it right, that G looks funky. It doesn't have the top arc that would normally signify something being a G. Additionally, the crossbar that makes it a G and not a C almost connects. So if you flip it upside down, it looks like begin could be turned into N1938. Now, I don't love this, and here's why. Not a whole lot going on with here upside down. You can't really turn it into anything, right? So the purist in me wants to say, oh, because you can't make something out of both words, then that's not a clue at all. But I'm going to go with it. There's a consensus that N1938 is what begin upside down is meant to represent. So, if you were to begin traveling north in 1938, you would have started at Mount Oglethorpe, where this monument is, and not at Springer Mountain. And if you look at the map, that aligns because while the Springer Spaniel is really close to that first begin here triangle, it's actually slightly before, which really aligns with the original map, right? So you've got Amicalola Falls State Park, where the black dot is, and then Eagles Rest Park, Mount Oglethorpe, Grassy Knob, where the green dot is. Next up, we have that alien spaceship looking thing that is in the bottom right corner of the map, which, if you squint a little bit and really want it to be, could look like the Mount Oglethorpe Monument. Since this is all interpretation, I'm going to go ahead and say it's a little bit of a stretch, but something worth looking into. Another thing that this inspired from me was what other lost trails are there along the Appalachian Trail? Obviously, maps change over time because paths change over time, shorelines change over time, geographical features change over time. So, when is this map that John Collins Black has created? When is it representing? Where in time is it represented, right? So, you've got this old timey map. So, is there a way we can figure out the era that this is supposed to represent and create a theory based around what would have been appropriate at the time the map was created? Granted, the map was created recently, but what time frame is it supposed to represent, right? We already know that Mount Oglethorpe is no longer the start of the Appalachian Trail and that Springer Mountain is now the start. So that's one section of trail that's changed. I also found this map that shows 3 different, very different trail versions in Virginia. And it even has places marked Old Appalachian Trail because the trail's obviously still there. That's just not the tried and true Appalachian Trail anymore. So that is what I'm going to be researching next, is how can I find detailed maps of what the Appalachian Trail used to be, and then try and narrow down a time period. Maybe I'll find something in the ciphers and in the map text about what era this map is supposed to represent for the Appalachian Trail. So stay tuned for all of that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do all of that stuff. And if you scan that QR code, you can buy me a coffee because we all know I'm jacked up on Starbucks all the time. Feel free to email me any questions or ideas you might have, even if, you can put it in the comments section, but everybody can see that. If you have something, you'd like me to research, send that to me. Something private you want to share, send that to me. I'm going over solves with people on the regular. So if you want to share your solve or just have a second set of eyes and some feedback, I'm happy to do that with you as well. All of the details are in the show notes in the description below. So happy hunting and good luck.